Hello and welcome to this afternoon taste challenge. I have two bourbons from Kentucky. This is very old Barton. It's crafted, because everything's crafted. It's made. Didn't say handcrafted. Crafted, very old Barton, 86 proof. This is the green label, the 86 proof. VOB, very old Barton, introduced in 1964. Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, bottled by Barton Distilling Company, Frankfort, Kentucky. That's actually Buffalo Trace. So I guess it's distilled by Barton in Bardstown at Barton 1792 Distillery. And then they ship it over up the highway to Frankfort and bottle it. 86 proof. It used to say 6 years, but now they dropped it. So it's no age statement. We know it's at least 4 years old. Okay, I bought this in Pascagoula, Mississippi. And I think it was like $11.99. Do I ever drink rye whiskey? Yes, I do rye whiskey tastings, and I have some coming up later in the year. And I bought a new one, the new Jim Beam rye. Hector says beer reviews and gaming. He says happy. That's his channel name. Happy Memorial Day. Well, thank you, Hector. Not really a happy day when you think about all the people killed in these terrible wars, usually for no good reason. But anyway, here's Royal. I spent over 8 hours at work today, so that was my Memorial Day. It uses Royal Blue, as you can see in the label. So it looks kind of nice. It's a plain label, but Royal, but I do like how they use the Royal Blue. Royal Kentucky bourbon whiskey, with natural flavors. Oh, yay. Bottled by Kentucky Distilling Company, Bardstown, Kentucky. Well, that's an alias for, Heaven Hill. I know it's an alias for Heaven Hill because I put the link below and they list it on their website. All right, they list it. They don't talk about it. They just list it. They list the bottle sizes. 375, I think 200 milliliter, 375, 750 liter, and a handle. But I bought the 750 milliliter in Houston, Texas 2 years ago, and it was $7.99. That's pretty much the cheapest price you're going to pay for bourbon whiskey, even though this is not pure bourbon whiskey. It's bourbon whiskey with natural flavors. Now, if you read the government website, and that's it. It's it. It's gone. That's it. No more Royal, unless I go back to Ralston Liquors in Houston, Texas. Ralston Liquors. I actually would go back to a Ralston liquor store. It's a pretty nice store on Lyons Avenue, sort of like central Houston, not downtown or anything, but central. It's not far from St. Arnold Brewing Company. It's like right, you could walk. I didn't, I drove. Although when I parked at St. Arnold, and the tour wasn't for over an hour, so I did do walking. I was walking all around Houston. I was walking around the area near the St. Arnold Distillery, right north and south of Interstate 10. Okay. And it was summer like this. This is not technically summer, it's still spring, but really in Louisiana, summer starts around May 5th and lasts till around October 5th. Yeah, true story. Okay, it should be a great review. So we'll put the very old Barton over here. No, let's put that very old Barton over here. And we'll put the Royal, the empty bottle of Royal, over here. Now you would think, bourbon with natural flavors. I thought it was illegal to add flavor into bourbon. It is. Read the government websites, it's not allowed. But what they'll tell you is it's not a flavor bourbon. It's a bourbon with natural flavors. And that's clearly allowed because I got at least 2 bottles that express it that way. Now, one convenient thing is they got the same exact shade of color. They're both like mid-range copper, amber copper. So that won't make a difference. We'll have to be closing my eyes. Afraid I'm going to glance at the darker color. But I got tags below. At the bottom of the glasses, I got tags. So I'll be able to tell them apart at the end. So, yeah. So if you ask the company, they would say, we didn't break the law. It's not a flavor bourbon. It's illegal. It's a bourbon with natural flavors. Big difference. Huge difference. Okay. But the government goes along with it because they're not, they want tax revenue. Okay. So, and the government never gets tired of taking your money. So, and your money spends just as good as the big company's money. So they want everybody's money. So the regulations say you cannot add color into bourbon and you cannot add flavoring. But they're selling a bourbon with flavoring, but it's a bourbon with natural flavors. You say that's a purely ridiculous technical difference, and it's not even a technical difference. But they got to put that on the bottle. There's no way they can get around that. It's got to be. It's an alert to let you know, bourbon with natural flavors, like alert. How many people pay attention to that alert? Probably me. Me, one person on earth, because for $7.99 a bottle, $7.99 for a full-size bottle of this bourbon, do you really think the people buying it are going to be looking over the label carefully up and down and detailing everything? I'm thinking, no, they are not, and they do not care. If it tastes good, that's what counts. So Han says, wait, so there's a bourbon that isn't bourbon and have artificial taste? No, it's not artificial flavoring. It's natural flavoring, which I suspect and I think it's vanilla extract. Can't prove it. But you can go to the grocery store and buy vanilla extract, but they probably using big containers of it that are much cheaper per ounce because they're buying it on the wholesale market. That's just a theory. I don't know what they're using, but it tastes like vanilla. Okay, why do they add flavoring? Well, I guess if you tried this without the flavoring, you'd understand why. Maybe it would be kind of, oh, yikes. I don't know. They just do it. Sazerac does the same thing. Buffalo Trace got 10 high, says the same thing. Bourbon with natural flavors. Kentucky Tavern. The new bottles say bourbon with natural flavors. It used to be Kentucky Straight Bourbon. They changed that. Still cheap as any bourbon you'll ever see. Early Times now says, since Sazerac bought it, now it says whiskey with natural flavor, but that's not really an issue because that's allowed. You could add flavor into a blended whiskey like Early Times, and you don't have to even disclose it. You don't even have to tell people. They just doing that as a service, as a courtesy, because they may have had flavoring in Early Times every since 1860 for all I know. just that maybe Brown Foreman didn't want to put it on the label. Because if you look at old bottle, I know where to find some old Brown Foreman early times from about 25 years ago. True story. I can find old bottles that old. And they don't say nothing about natural flavoring, but they don't have to say it. See, so it may have it all along. Certain bourbons might be fake. The bourbon is not fake. It just got natural flavors added. So it's not fake. It's just an add-on. I'm not saying I agree with the practice. I'm saying they do it. So is it common? No, it's not common, but it's out. I mean, yeah, I guess it is common because I can go to Walmart, Mathern's, Winn-Dixie, and I can get 10 high, 10 high, 10 high, and all the bottles say bourbon with natural flavors. So okay, I guess it's common. And 10 high is pretty popular in Louisiana. Everybody got it. They've got it on the shelf. They're not going to keep it stocked if it doesn't move. You know that. And it does move. Now, is it connoisseurs buying it? No. It's just people that want some cheap bourbon. Okay, Stanley Wayne says cheers. Cheers to you, Stanley. To Wayne. All right, so it's time to roll. So we're looking at about a $4 to $5 difference. $4 to $5. And it should make a difference. Now, if you want to make sure you don't buy a bourbon with natural flavors added, well, all you got to do is just buy a bourbon because it'll say it on the label. It's going to say it if they add the flavoring. Yeah. Oh, well, actually, if you want to be super careful, buy Kentucky straight. Well, it doesn't have to be from Kentucky. Buy straight bourbon. Just look for that word on the bottle that says straight. If it says straight bourbon, then you're in like Flint. It's got no flavoring, no coloring added. Straight bourbon, or buy bottle and bond if you like the 100 proof. Cannot have flavoring added, cannot have coloring added. So do that, you're on the safe side. Straight bourbon. You got it. If you buy Kentucky bourbon, a blend, and they make those, then all bets are off. Blended bourbon, all bets are off. Can have coloring and flavoring added, and that is a fact. Enjoying some Knob Creek 12, says Nick Picks. Oh, that sounds good. I've never had Knob Creek 12. I'm going to get a handle of Evan Williams very soon, says Butch Willie. Sounds like a good idea. $26. I think that's a good deal. Yeah, I remember when they had it for $22.99, but that price didn't last. We kept talking about it, so somebody probably, I don't know, it's probably just in our minds. Now it's $29.99, but it was $22 for months. It was Evan Williams, $17.83 for $22.99. I handled the big boy bottle, but we kept running our mouth about it, and we knew it was only one store that had it for that price. Okay, so aroma seems like charred oak. Evan Williams Bottle and Bond is probably the best value in bourbon. Certainly one of them. Can't argue with that. Okay, so over here I'm getting charred oak. Over here I'm not. So I'm thinking on aroma, this is the very old Barton, which I cannot get in Louisiana. And this is the Royal, which I cannot get in Louisiana, interestingly. All right, taste. Cheers. I don't know who's sending me text messages at this inopportune time. Well, tastes like your typical bourbon flavors. Corn. Just think of popcorn with no salt. Popcorn with no salt. Or yellow grits, like Dixie Darling yellow grits. Then you got it. Vanilla, the char from the charred oak, a little, what they call that, nectar from like a honeysuckle nectar. And that's about it. It's basic. Does it have any rye spice, a rye bite, like a high rye bourbon? That might be there. Now that I think about it, now that I implanted that idea in my mind, yeah, it might have about oh, at the most 15% rye whiskey in it, but I bet it's not that high. But it could be a little wheat, although I seriously doubt that. And it could be malted barley, which I would definitely believe that. So it's probably 80% corn. Well, maybe more like 85% corn, being that it's so inexpensive. So let's think. Probably about 85% corn, 10% rye. So that brings you to 95, and probably 5% malted barley. I mean, total guess, but it's kind of like what it tastes like. Now, if you want to buy a Scotch with a high amount of rye, get the Johnny Walker High Rye. I haven't tried it yet. I haven't bought it. But that's out there. It's called Johnny Walker High Rye Blended Whiskey. So they jack up the rye whiskey in it. It's not a rye whiskey because it's not 51% rye. It's mostly corn, but a lot of liquor stores don't understand that, and they'll put it in the rye section. I keep seeing that, putting Johnny Walker High Rye in the rye section. I try to tell them it's not a rye whiskey. It's just a Scotch whiskey with a higher than normal rye content. But they look at you like they don't know what you're talking about, and in fact, they don't know what you're talking about. Okay. Okay. Tastes like whiskey with vanilla in it, honestly. And that's what it tastes like. Simple as that. Tastes like whiskey with vanilla in it. And you say, well, bourbon has kind of a vanilla flavor anyway, oftentimes. Yes, that's true. So they're not really violating the flavor protocol, but yeah. What about rye notes here? No, I don't believe. Okay. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does have a little rye on second taste. Okay. But maybe it's more like 5% instead of 10. What about malted barley, like they say in Scotland, single malt? Well, I doubt it, but I mean, this is very inexpensive. This is $7.99. You say, well, I know what it is. It's a bunch of old junk that they couldn't sell because it was like Old Fitzgerald that came out bad, and Henry McKenna that came out bad, and Evan Williams that came out bad, and Larceny that came out bad, and they just dumped it all together and added vanilla flavoring and put it at 80 proof, so you would buy it for $7.99. I would definitely not be shocked by that. Could you buy a bottle of this and it tastes a little different every month? Yes. But once again, it's $7.99, so you would not care because you would not buy. The people that buy this for $7.99, they're not sitting here at a computer doing taste challenges and evaluating all the aspects of it. They're watching Scooby-Doo reruns and eating a Swanson's TV dinner. And they're mixing this with ice and Tahitian treat fruit punch. And that's what they're doing. I mean, you know, that's what they're doing with it. Hungry Man's and a Schlitz. That's the same concept. Same concept. Or it's a banquet meal. They got spaghetti and meatballs this time because they're living large now. But you know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to downgrade the people that buy Royal, and I'm not trying to say it's bad or like, oh, it's a sin. I hope my friends don't notice I have a bottle. It's just it's what it is. It's a low echelon product. And I'm not going to sit here and make out that Varial Barton is exactly high up the ladder because it is not, and it is barely above Royal, honestly, but it's above it because it's Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. I mean, that's a pure product. There's no funny business going on with it. And that's that fan making that cranking sound in the background. If you don't like it, I'll turn it off. But it does kind of stir the air up. Well, okay. So I do prefer the very old Barton. It seemed like it's coming from the Sazerac High Rye mash bill. They got two whiskey mash bills. I mean, bourbon mash bill. They got the High Rye and the Low Rye. Well, technically, that's the Buffalo Trace mash bill. So could Barton be using a different set of mash bills at Barton 1792 distillery? Well, they could be, but yeah, they could be. Yeah. So I better cool it on that because, Barton is a separate subdivision. It ain't a separate company anymore. It's a separate subdivision. You got Barton over here, 1792 distillery, and you got Buffalo Trace. And we know the Buffalo Trace mash bills. Well, I know what those are. They told me on the phone. I called them. They told me it took me like 15 minutes to write it all down, but they told me. She said, okay, here's the whiskeys that are from the High Rye mash bill, and I start writing them. Here's the whiskeys from the Low Rye. Start writing it. Here's the wheated. Here's the rye mash bill. Okay. She didn't say anything about Barton. She never referred to Barton because it is a separate company, subdivision company. Now, she didn't talk about Glenmore. That's way up the road or down the road, down the river in Owensboro because they got their own construction. You know what I'm saying? Liquor construction. But they're doing a lot of rums over there. I mean, Glenmore's really just dealing with rum right now. You say rum, Kentucky? Rum in Kentucky. Yeah. You got it. Rum can be made anywhere as long as it's made with sugar cane, molasses. My buddy used to drink Southern Comfort, says Wesley. Oh yeah, Southern Comfort is extremely popular in Louisiana. I mean, it's like one of the big ones. You know what I mean? Southern Comfort, the regular 70 proof white label, the black label, the 80 proof, and the 100 proof kind of red label. But the Southern Comfort that's really popular is the standard one, the white label, the 70 proof, the old classic one, which my friend David said it tastes like cherries. They're adding cherries to it, which they probably are. You like Sazerac straight rye whiskey? Says, yeah. I do like it, and I have a bottle of it, and I can show it to you. And it's $18.99 Louisiana on a sale. You understand? $18.99. True story. I see people talking about we paid $50. I say $50. It's pretty tasty. It is. I like it. I love it, actually. I love Sazerac rye, really. Okay, last call on this. This is pretty obviously the Barton 1790. I'm sorry, the very old Barton comes from that distillery, Barton 1792 distillery. This is obviously the very old Barton. When I went to that distillery and took a tour in 2017, they actually let us taste this, but it was the 80 proof version. We tasted 3 products there. We tasted Buffalo Trace Bourbon Cream at Barton. I don't know, they just had it. We tasted very old Barton, the 80 proof, and we tasted Barton 1792. And then they gave us some chocolates to eat. True story. It was fun. I got it. So now I got 4 wins and 2 losses. It's going to keep getting better. I think I'm going to start winning on this because now I'm going against different companies. I'm doing Sazerac, Buffalo Trace, Barton versus Heaven Hill. Then I'm going to go on to like George Dickel and all that. So you have a good taste. Oh, thank you. Hi, Ron. Hope you are having a great holiday down in the Big Easy, says KS. Well, I'm not in the Big Easy, New Orleans, but I'm not far from it. You know, 20 miles, something like that. 20 miles. Yeah, to the city limits, from where I'm sitting right now. Yeah, probably maybe 20 or 20. I think I'm 29 miles to the Superdome, Louisiana Superdome. 1792 is nice. It is. It's really nice. Okay, so what do we say about Royal as we finish up Royal? We are at the end of the Royal tasting experience. It took me 2 years to go through this bottle. I thought it would last longer than 2 years, but it didn't. But anyway, no great loss, but it's all right. Is there anything worthwhile about it? Yeah, I would say so. Got the vanilla, little pecan oil or walnut oil. It's smooth anyway. It's a little watery, 80 proof. I mean, it's just watery anyway. But for $7.99, I could make some compromises, honestly, because I could pay $11.99 and get Jim Beam. But is Jim Beam really that much better? Is it really $4 better than this Royal from Heaven Hill? Uh, I don't know about that. Say $4 here, $4 there, five here, four there, three there, $2.50 there, $3 there, $4. Pretty soon it adds up. Now you're saving hundreds of dollars. So yeah, there's something to be said for Royal. And if you ever see it, and chances are you won't ever see it, but if you do see it, hey, what the heck? Check it out. I spent a month in Gulf Shores, Alabama in March, and I spent a couple of days in Biloxi in New Orleans while I was staying in Gulf Shores. Went and saw the Pelicans and Zion Williamson says, yeah. I went to see the Pelicans this past season. It was fun. They lost. They got killed, though. My bad. I thought the name applied to the whole metro area. No, I think it's just the actual city limits, the Big Easy. I tell you, I never heard anybody call it that in my whole life. I only heard them call it that on TV, made for television movies. You know what I mean? Like I never heard, just like growing up, I never heard anybody say, we going to the Big Easy. I just never heard anybody say that. They said, we're going to New Orleans. New Orleans, how they say it around here. We're going to New Orleans. Or in Uptown, they say New Orleans. We're going to New Orleans. But the Big Easy, nah, I'm not familiar with that term except for made from television movies. They would say the Crescent City, like on public television shows. Today, we're going to look at iron grill work of the Crescent City, or courtyard gardens of the Crescent City, stuff like that. But or I'm going to pick up my bouquet at Crescent City Florists. So Royal Bourbon is a winner in its own quaint little way. Okay, laughing out loud. Yaya says New Orleans, New Orleans. Yeah, New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans, New Orleans. I always just said New Orleans. My whole life, I just said, we're going to New Orleans. Oh, let's go to that comic book shop in New Orleans on Magazine Street. That's the way I said it, New Orleans. My parents said New Orleans. Oh, did you know your sister moved to New Orleans? Stuff like that. But it's not like they say on television. Okay, anyway, well, y'all take care now. I was watching a cool show on YouTube called Lost New Orleans, and they had a segment on the airport restaurant in La Plaza closed. Airport restaurant. Are you talking about Airline Motors? It wasn't by an airport. It was just on Airline Highway. And it used to be a car dealership. I think it was a Chevrolet dealership. It was Airline Motors. It was a Chevrolet, like in 1939 Chevrolet dealership. But they got into some kind of conflict with Chevrolet. And they were like, well, you're not going to be our dealer anymore. And they were like, well, it's fine. Well, fine. So they cut ties with them, and something happened, and they started selling gasoline there. Like when I was a kid, they sold Billups gasoline, and they had a repair shop. Get your tire patched, or rotate the tires, or change the oil, and you could buy gasoline. So, but they also had a restaurant. It was open 24 hours, and they had a banquet room in the back where people would have banquets. Like my mother would go to Palladians, the meetings of the Palladians there, where they would talk about books they read. And yeah, 24-hour restaurant. And but while you were eating, you could hear them working on the cars. Ying, 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 ying. Loosening the tires, the wheels or whatever. Not the tires, the wheels. So it was kind of interesting. And then they had a gift shop where you could buy all kind of record albums from Louisiana, like Justin Wilson or Doug Kershaw or whatever, and other kind of gifts. Like Louisiana themed gifts. Gifts, and jelly and jam from Louisiana. But then when they finished the interstate highway between Baton Rouge and New Orleans, finally they finished it. You could go all the way through. That was it. The business started drop. And then finally they closed down. Now it's still open though, but now it's a off-track betting place. People go there and bet on horse racing. I would assume they have food and drinks there. I don't know. I ought to go check it out. I don't bet. I have no interest in betting on horses or anything else. But Joshua Prosen says, Jesus Christ loves you all. Yes, that's true. It did a lot of work on fixing it up, the fairgrounds, off-track betting. I might go check it out. Smoothie King is overpriced. I've never eaten a Smoothie King product or drink it. All right. Anyway, enough of that jibber jabber. Thanks for watching. The winner, the clear and present winner, is very old Barton. Royal is fine. No knock against Royal, but it can't compete against a straight bourbon whiskey. No way. So yeah, if you see this, buy it. I want to get that 100 proof next. No, I want to get the 90 proof next. I want to get the 90 proof and then the 100. So I have to see, because maybe next time I go through Mississippi, I'll be looking for it. Because like I said, I've never seen it in Louisiana. Yes. You said jibber jabber, like you were from Boston, like me. Yeah, all this jibber jabber. Okay. Well, thanks, and I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. And we're going to do a Dawn Busters Taste Challenge with this straight bourbon whiskey and another Heaven Hill product, and it's called Evan Williams. So get ready for Evan Williams versus Very Old Barton. And I think Very Old Barton is going to win, but it should be a tough challenge. I think it's going to be a tough challenge. All right, y'all take care too. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. And bye-bye, Royal. You're going in the trash can, and I'll never see you again.